Hey, what's going on? This is our 1986 Chevy Silverado build. We call it the Sleeperado, as it looks kind of worn on the outside. But under the hood is a brand new LT4 from Chevrolet Performance. This is the wet sump version, which they rate at 640 horsepower. The dry sump, 650. With the free-flowing exhaust we have on here at the moment, it's probably around 650, and it gets up and goes. The way these engines are set up, they make a ton of torque immediately, and it's a lot of it, and it's all there, which makes it quite a lot of fun for driving around town. Most of us spend most of our driving time taking off from stop signs and stoplights and hitting it pretty hard, 20, 30, 40 miles an hour. And when you do in this truck, that engine's got all the power right then and there waiting, which is pretty nice. So they've got them tuned and set up really well for people that want to have a good time on the street. It's also extremely reliable. It runs nice and cool. We're running the factory computer. We went and tuned it through HP tuners. And then all of that power comes through a T56 Super Magnum transmission, which was the paired transmission for this engine. And on top of that, we have got this oh-so-sweet S1 sequential. So this is actually a sequential shifter over what is still a regular, manual transmission. But it's fun. You can shift really quickly with it. You still have to clutch through the gears, but it is super mechanical and just very satisfying to drive. I haven't come across someone yet who didn't think it was a blast. In fact, people just like sitting in here shifting it for the hell of it, because it's pretty awesome if you like mechanical stuff. So, obviously we didn't change a whole lot on the outside of the truck, but underneath we've got a bunch of really sweet Ride-Tech suspension components, tubular control arms up front, box-tuned shocks all the way around. We've got it lowered quite a bit, bigger sway bars. Out back, we've got a 4-link type setup. This thing straight hooks up. Out of the hole, whoop! Tail end gets loose on this real quick, which is where all the fun is. Out of the hole, very stable. We've had it out in the autocross course. Thing handles wonderfully. You wouldn't envision one of these things when you saw them new driving around in the 80s, going around an autocross course, or having an engine that was this powerful in it. Originally from the factory, this truck had under 200 horsepower, so we're way over that now, and it's just an absolute blast and a rocket ship. It is not what it's supposed to be, which is, I think, kind of the recipe for a really fun vehicle. Let's get on the brakes real quick. Brakes are awesome. 6-piston Willwoods. We've got a little bit more aggressive pad we're running on those. Not so worried about brake dust. We want to stop really well, which we're accomplishing at the moment. That's not an issue whatsoever. Lots of torque, just roll it on as you please. We upgraded the rear end actually to a quick performance floater. We were getting basically a lot of kickback in the pads under hard acceleration and hard cornering too. So by going to that full floater rear end, the only job of that axle is to drive those rear wheels. It doesn't have to support the vehicle. That's done by the actual axle housing, which is a nice setup if you're running a high horsepower car. Also, everybody wants those giant rear calipers and giant front calipers. So you've got a much larger area across which any movement can deflect. So we were getting a little bit of that. We had it out at Willwood in California, telling them about the issue. They pointed out what was happening, so Quick Performance built us this really kick-ass full floater rear end. And now we have none of that. It's extra strong, extra beefy, no longer an issue whatsoever. The interior turned out basically the way I wanted it. I wanted kind of a racy look. Didn't want to change it a whole lot. but we've got these killer Recaro gradient seats. These were a limited release seat. They made 50 pairs of them. And if you remember seeing these things in the 80s in vehicles, I thought, what better seat combination could we put in the square body than some kick-ass Recaro gradients. So we've got those in there. We got the Sparco harnesses. We've got a nice kicker system, which is tucked away, runs off your phone. I don't use it a whole lot because I like to hear the engine. I like to hear the engine rip. And got MagnaFlow, basically builder's kit with MagnaFlow mufflers. Sounds good. It's pretty loud, but not so loud that it's going to really piss off the neighbors unless you're on it real hard. But they'll probably be mad at you for driving recklessly at that point, so don't do that. We upgraded the steering box to a closer ratio box, and if I didn't mention it, we wanted to build this thing using the stock frame. So these RideTech systems are really nice because while we bolt on a lot of these systems for customers, we've had a lot of customers put them on as well. And for the return on investment, in my opinion, it's one of the best setups you can get. Doing a chassis swap is very, very expensive. You get into a lot of stuff, but to be able to bolt this stuff right on to a nice frame is a big cost savings, and there are cars that are competitive in autocross running these setups, and they are kicking ass. So we did brace the middle section of the frame right behind the cab with a brace from GSI. And as you know, these frames are not the stiffest frames, but we've had really, really good luck with this setup. We installed the suspension kit in just a couple days, got everything aligned, and it's ready to rock. The wheels we're using are HREs. Usually you see them on exotic cars, supercars, hypercars. Very, very high-end wheel. Production's awesome. Quality's all there. They are really, really nice wheels, and we've been very satisfied. There's not a whole lot not to like on these wheels. We've got a nice big dish in the back, so really meaty setup. We're running a 315. In the bed, we did widen. You can barely tell, but we did widen those wheel wells a little bit because we wanted to get a large wheel and tire package underneath it. The acceleration on this thing, it's absolutely awesome. That being said, we've had it on the track. It gets up to 100 very, very quickly, and it just does not stop pulling. Being the big square it is just blasting through the air like a big brick, but it doesn't want to let up. That torque is all there, and there's more extreme engine builds, but for the guy who wants something that's an absolute blast every time you get in it, the LT4 is pretty sweet. It's hard to strike that balance between reliability and performance, and this is one of those engine packages that I think really does it. Also comes with a 2-year, 50,000 mile warranty. That kind of stuff's kind of unheard of, but Chevrolet Performance is certainly doing it, so not a bad way to go. The gauges we have, to go to digital, really changed up their game a few years ago. These are some really nice looking gauges. They custom printed these for us with the Classic Car Studio speed shop on the front. Some fun downshifting there. So they custom printed these with the Classic Car Studio speed shop logo on the front. They're really easy to adjust. There's 2 buttons. You can hop through a bunch of different features. Right now, I'm showing the volts, fuel, water temp, and oil pressure. If you want, you can set that up to show mile per hour. There's a lot of different settings in there. They're really easy to adjust. It's even really easy to get out and set the speed on them. You can get into the control mode by holding down the 2 buttons. So after you hold down the 2 buttons, you get in control mode. You can skip around, do whatever you want. Pretty easy to use. Not hard to control at all. We've had no issues with them. And it's nice because they're accurate. You know what's going on. And for every gauge function, with the analog looking gauges, they're not analog gauges, but with the old school looking gauges, you can get all those features picked up in a digital readout in the center, which is kind of neat. This is just one of those vehicles you get in, and with a lot of stuff you kind of forget how much fun it is until you hop back in. But as soon as that thing starts up and that exhaust crackles and you start driving it, it's so much damn fun. The other thing is, I've driven it everywhere, I've parked it everywhere, I've left it everywhere. Why would I care? The outside is just kind of beat up looking. So you can run a shopping cart into it. If it gets scratched accidentally, you're not freaking out. It's really kind of the best of both worlds. I love show cars, and it's fun to take them to car shows, and it's fun to drive in places, but it really makes you worry that you're gonna stop at the grocery store parking lot. This thing, you can really drive it every day. I drove it back and forth to work a lot. It's just kick-ass. Some people kind of realize what it is. Most people that aren't in C10s like we are might scoff at it a little bit. A lot of people check it out and see the big brakes and the cool wheels and start wondering what's going on. So that's kind of our intention with this. Beyond just having something that just blows the damn wheels off. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Check back next time. I'm gonna keep driving. Peace. Thanks for coming to our YouTube page. If you like what you see, make sure to subscribe. If you want notifications, click on the bell. If you want to buy some cool merch, click on the info card, or you can click on the link in the bio.